President Trump put an end to diversity, equity, and inclusion practices throughout federal departments with just the stroke of his pen. It's created defiance among some supporters of DEI as federal level changes trickle into the private sector. Don't go looking for traces of diversity, equity, and inclusion on federal government websites. An executive order titled Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity gained President Trump's signature in his second day back in office. The order stops federal departments from giving contracts to private organizations that enforce DEI.
Right-wing or conservative critics who claim that it is kind of preferential treatment for minorities and women. It amounts to basically reverse discrimination.
Trump praised the move, calling DEI mandates destructive and saying the administration returned our country to a merit-based system and a common sense system. And on the same day, President Trump revoked parts of the Equal Employment Opportunity Order signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965 that aimed to stop discrimination on the job. Glad of Lane County says DEI is vital to the work they do, aiding those in Lane County with immigration cases and helping asylum seekers find pro bono legal services.
Renewed conviction for us that we are fighting for folks who are entitled to a degree of legal representation of rights here in the United States.
Moon says their resolve doesn't remove concern for their clients.
This isn't some fad, diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is the substance of our work. We work to decrease barriers for everybody to have the opportunity to maximize their potential and to succeed. So we are extremely concerned, particularly with the targeting of immigrant groups.
The assumption is that people who are not white, not men, are inherently worse.
In the aftermath of the signed orders, companies like Target and Amazon have scaled back their DEI programming. Others like Costco have stood their ground. James tells us DEI likely prevents a monopoly of the workforce by one dominant group.
Say that there's 10,000 engineers and only 100 of them are women, and you randomly draw from that 10,000 to pick your top 150 engineers. Well, just by happenstance, right? Like, you're going to select more men than women. What DEI is saying is that, we actually think it's valuable to have women and men engineers.
Dozens gathered at the Graduate Hotel Tuesday with the same thought in mind. The grant making with an Equity Lens seminar was filled with all mid to senior level foundation staff or trustees determined to learn how to apply more equity to grants they offer.
It's really important that our grant making is accessible to all parts of the community, whether people live in a rural community or an urban community, whether they are part of a tribal nation or indigenous. We just want to make sure that the grants that we make available to community-based organizations are available to all parts of the community.
Meanwhile, GLAD says it hopes recent moves by the president don't undo decades of progress made for marginalized groups. Now, GLAD tells us it remains committed to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in its work.